Om. Om. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Yo Antah Pravishya Mama Vacham Imam Prasuttam Sanjeevayatyakhila Shakti Dharasvadhamna अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम् समचरणसरोज सान्द्रनीलाम्बुदाभम् जघननिहितपाणिम् मण्डनं मण्डनानाम् तरुणतुलसीमालाम् कन्धरं कञ्जनेत्रम् सदयधवलहासम् विठ्ठलं चिन्तयामि विठ्ठलं चिन्तयामि. In chapter 5, from verse 41, we have to read 460 OV. After 459 OV, that verse. देवर्षि भूताप्तनृणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नाय मृणी च राजन् सर्वात्मनाय शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्. Venkateshji, are you ready?
Yeah. Sorry for joining in late, madam. Some technical issues.
It's okay, doesn't matter. You are on the page. Did you get the page?
Yes, 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 yes. I have got the page,
Yeah.
madam.
So meaning of the verse from there.
Yeah. Meaning of the verse from there.
Yes.
Meaning of the verse. O king, renouncing all the obligations, he who completely takes resort to the protector, Lord Narayana, is no longer a servant or a debtor to the gods, sages, or others, including his ancestors. 460. Only the feet of Lord Mukunda are the right place of resort for those who wish to surrender before him. And if one so surrenders, then the birth and death never bind him. 461. When he is not bound by birth and death, how can there be any obligations upon him of gods, sages, teachers, or ancestors? These devotees go beyond all bondage merely by their devotion. 462. One who is merged in the love of God does not remain under anybody's obligation. It is like iron which drops its black color and becomes gold at the touch of Paras, the magic stone. Just 463. Just as one becomes free of all the sins by bathing in the Ganges, so when one is totally merged in the love for the feet of the Lord, he is free from these three obligations. 464. All the elders and ancestors are liberated by a man's worship of God, and the sages are naturally satisfied by the joy of that worship. 465. By the joy of the devotion of the God, all the beings become happy. If a son worships the Lord, his parents as well as his relatives are emancipated. 466. When worship of Sri Hari, who rules all the God, is done with faith, there is nothing like obligation of gods on men, on man in his case. 467. One more thing. Those who worship the Lord with one pointed faith are never bound by karma because they take resort at the God's feet, who is the controller of all karma. 468. The God's devotee is not bound by karma, is not a servant of various deities, and not a slave to ordinary people at all. 469. He who is surrendered to Sri Hari is not subject to anybody's control, and having paid off all the three obligations of rishis, devas, and parents, he is aloof from either action or inaction. 470. The devotees of the God are free from all karma and from all obligations because they have firm realization that Lord Vasudeva is everywhere.
स्वपादमूलं भजतः प्रियस्य त्यक्तान्यभावस्य हरिः परेशः विकर्म यच्चोत्पतितं कथञ्चेत् धुनोति सर्वं हृदि सन्निविष्टः.
Meaning of the verse: if a beloved devotee forsakes all other attachment and takes shelter at the feet of the Lord Sri Hari, dwelling in the heart, washes off any sins that is committed by that devotee. 471. The bondage of karma does not touch those devotees who drop the pride of their body, leave aside the worship of other deities, and surrender only to the feet of Sri Hari. 472. And only such who are totally surrendered to Sri Hari are loved by him, and the bondage of action and its result does not touch them even in their dream. 473. O king, you may say that they are free of bondage because they only perform the actions prescribed for them. But no, even if they do any wrong action, they are not affected and have not to undergo purificatory rites. 474. Just as a young lion is not overpowered by elephants, so it is true that the devotee of Sri Hari are not caught in the result of mistaken deeds, even if these wrong actions are committed by them. 475. If a great sinner utters with faith the sacred name of Sri Hari, then the Lord of Death, Yama, will pay respects to him. Then how can he punish the loving devotees of the God? 476. A question arises here that the edicts of Veda are really orders of Sri Vishnu, and he himself has separated dharma from non dharma. Then how is it that the devotees are not affected by wrong actions? 477. Just as a servant who is dear to the king cannot be accosted by the guard at the door, the prince is obviously out of the scope of the authority of the god. 478. Similarly, when the Vedas bow before the feet of the devotee who merely remembers the name of Hari, it is obvious that the regulations of Vedas about good and bad karma can never be applied or effective in the case of a devotee who is very dear to Lord Hari. 479. Now, one must understand that the devotee will normally never commit any wrong actions. But if at all, by chance, some undesirable action is committed by them inadvertently, the sin is washed out by merely uttering the name of Lord Achyuta. 480. You may ask as to what is the Bhagavata discipline of action in which action or inaction do not affect the devotees. I will tell you the best code of conduct followed by real Bhagavatas. 481. He who throws away his attachment and pride about his body and loves every being as having Sri Hari in his heart crushes the karma or akarma actions or inactions under his feet and liberation. A damsel wipes his feet by her tresses. 482. The wonder is that whoever is looked upon kindly by this devotee is suddenly free from the fear of this worldly life. Wherever he turns his glance and blesses, the devotion of Lord comes there in person to stay forever. 483. By his blessings, even common or meek person experience the presence of God in their hearts, and it is another wonder that the Lord Sri Hari himself destroys the bondage of karma, etc., of these people in his own power. 484. Just as darkness is dispelled as soon as the sun rises, so also when the Lord Sri Rama becomes manifest in the heart of the devotee, the burden of all action is naturally and suddenly removed. 485. O the great King, to sing to the glory of the name of the Lord is itself the supreme devotion, and all the four kinds of liberation serve that devotees as slaves. 486. Shukha was narrating this story to Parikshit. He said, when the king heard the glory and the perfection of the devotion, he shivered out of joy. Tears of joy began to flow from his eyes, and he began to move to and fro out of ecstasy. 487. Narada was inwardly very happy, and in that mood of happiness, he ended his storytelling to Vasudeva as follows.
नारद उवाच धर्मान् भागवतानित्थं श्रुत्वाथ मिथिलेश्वरः जायन्ते यान्मुनिं प्रीतः सोपाध्यायो ह्य पूजयत्.
Meaning of the verse, the sage Narada further said, hearing the explanation of these methods of conduct pleasing to the Lord, Nimi, the king of Mithila, with his priest and preceptors, delightedly adored the sons of Jayanti, the nine sages. 488. While while relating the history, Narada was moved emotionally. In the wake of this condition of his mind, he told to Vasudeva about the supreme devotion of God. 489. He said, in this way, the sons of Jayanti conveyed their own experience of supreme devotion to the king Janaka Nimi. 490. Listening to the talk of those sages, the king Janaka was very happy, and with loving respect he worshipped them. 491. As he was extremely happy in offering various auspicious things to them in that worship, his performance was full of great love and honor. 492. The king thus honored those sages, namely Kavi, Hari, Antariksha, etc., and Shatananda, the son of Ahalya, who was the royal priest of Janaka, also conducted the worship and offered similar adorations.
ततोऽन्तर्दधिरे सिद्धाः सर्वलोकस्य पश्यतः राजा धर्मानुपातिष्ठन् अवाप परमां गतिम्.
Meaning of the verse. Then those siddhas disappeared while all present were seeing them. The king then followed the courses of conduct taught by them and attained the highest divine position, the final liberation. 493. In this way, having imparted their knowledge to the king Janaka, all the nine sages who were themselves devotees of the Lord ascended sky and became invisible. 494. The king Janaka followed their advice and, conducting his affairs according to the Bhagavata code, became liberated and attained a very high position. 495. When devotion is full of real faith and kind regard to God, a person, though living in the physical form, becomes free of its limitation. The King Janaka became similarly free of his body attachment and entered eternal peace.
तमप्येतान् महाभाग धर्मान् भागवतान् श्रुतान् आस्थितः श्रद्धया युक्तः निस्सङ्गो यास्यसे परम्.
Meaning of the verse: O the greatly fortunate one, follow these courses of conduct with faith, become unattached, and you will also reach the highest goal. Narada said, O Vasudeva, you are in that fortunate state where the whole line of lucky conditions of man come to stay and take rest. These make your home their own abode and play merrily. 497. O Vasudeva, the name of Sri Krishna as Vasudeva is derived from you, and that name is so effective and pure that all the bad elements are banished by chanting it. 498. Dear Vasudeva, you are the only person having this great benefit. You have listened with faith and devotion to the way of behavior of real Bhagavatas. 499. Please remember that after listening to the nature of the Paramatman, constant meditation to hold that knowledge in your heart must be undertaken. If you do this, you will be free from all entanglements and freely reach your own Atmic state. 500. You will be experiencing the bliss of the self in that highest state and remain there as happiness incarnate. That state in which the cause and effect do not have existence.
युवयोः खलु दम्पत्योः यशसा पूरितं जगत् पुत्रतामगमद्यद्वां भगवानीश्वरो हरिः.
Meaning of the verse: the fame of both of you has spread throughout the world, and it is filled with your praise because the Supreme God Hari chose to be your son. 501. By the fame of your wife and yourself, glory has attained success because all the three worlds are full of your good name and the whole earth is filled with great joy because of you. The Lord Sri Krishna, 502, the Lord Sri Krishna, for whom sacrifice are performed, for whom charity and gifts are to be given, for whom penance is to be undergone, and for whom yogic practices are undertaken by seekers. 503. He who perfect description cannot be done by Vedas and even by the divine serpent. He who is not easily available to the great sages like Sanaka, that Sri Krishna you are fondling in your lap. 504. He who is the ruler of time as death, he who is the controller of Brahma and other gods, he who is the object of praise by the Lord Shiv, who is the destroyer of everything, and he who is the protector of all the three worlds. 505. That Sri Krishna, who is the decoration of all fortunes, who is the beauty of all the beauties, who is the anchor sheet of all six types of glories, play as your son. Is it not?
दर्शनलिङ्गनालापैः शयनासनभोजनैः आत्मा वां पावितः कृष्णं पुत्रस्नेहं प्रकुर्वतोः.
Meaning of the verse: you have purified your Atman while loving Krishna as your son, by seeing him, caressing him, talking to him, sleeping, sitting, and dining with him. 506. Vision becomes purified when it looks at Sri Krishna, who is the supreme Brahman in person, and the eyes experience great comfort. 507. When the ears hear the sweet words of Lord Sri Krishna, they become sacred. 508. When you call him by the name as O Krishna, or when you have a dialogue with him, your speech also becomes peaceful and pure, just as the water of Ganges gives coolness by its touch to the person suffering from heat. 509. The devotees perform sacrifices for him, but he does not easily accept the oblations offered by them. But he rushes to you again, even if you push him away, and sits near you to take the food. 510. He who is seldom approachable by yoga and sacrifice, etc., waits for dinner time at your home, and with childlike mischievousness he puts the morsel of from his mouth to your mouth. 511. That Sri Krishna who affords for the harassed a great solace simply puts the sweet morsel of food in your mouth. Thus, it is obvious that nobody in all the three worlds have been as fortunate as you. 512. The tongue, when satisfied with the tasting of sweet morsel from his mouth, will definitely be averse to taste the nectar. How can it relish the taste of ordinary eatables and drinks? By 13, inner purity cannot be achieved even by undergoing lot of penance, but it is resulted by enjoying the morsel given by him from his mouth. 514. While kissing Sri Krishna, the fragrance of his mouth purifies your nose, and your mind becomes peaceful and joyfully energetic. 515. Seeing you both sitting on your seats, Sri Krishna comes running towards you, sits on your lap, and gives you great comfort by gently rubbing his body to your bodies. 516. By the touch of his limbs to your bodies, all the urges and hankering in those limbs die down, and as a result, your karma is turned into selfless, pure action. 517. When you embrace
Haribo.
him,
Yeah, Haribo. We can pause over here for today. So you can give your thoughts first about your reading.
actually, when you read this particular shlokas itself, that bhav which comes, I don't know how to express that. You are actually, when you read it itself, there is so much of peacefulness, right? It is more peaceful. All the uh, my take over here, and while I can read some of these shlokas where there are some very good points, I feel that, see, I mean, Eknath ji's way of putting the things, even in this English, I don't know, when you read it in Marathi and all, I don't know how much more bhav will come. Even in this English translation, if you are able to emotionally blend with the thoughts, and it gives a different feeling altogether. Emancipation, that particular word, just by uttering Lord Krishna's name, I think all the bad elements. 497. Oh Vasudeva, the name of Sri Krishna as Vasudeva is derived from you. And that name is so effective and pure that all the bad elements are banished. I mean, it's completely removed. 497. This was one, this one, and then I think, and I think this, I think if you connect it with Bhagavad Gita, I think action and inaction thing was there in one of these chapters, akarma and all that. But here, once you start, I mean, the Vedas and all, I think there was one particular point where they said that Vedas become your slaves. Vedas are considered to be the manuals, and it gives you the this one, but it itself becomes the slaves when somebody chants Lord Hari's name. So that is one another good point which And I think this particular set of shlokas uh, about the Bhagavatas and the code, and this one, the code of conduct of a Bhagavata is very clearly given. 484, just as darkness is dispelled as soon as the sun rises, so also Lord Sri Rama becomes manifest in the heart of the devotee. The burden of all actions are naturally and suddenly removed. I think this, Varshaji, you must have gone through that particular. And I was actually, when Swami Abhedananda ji was conducting that particular thing in, I think, the recently conducted Ramcharit Manas, right? When you hear from him, that at least we are hearing him from, I mean, through the YouTube channel and all. We look forward to hear, I mean, even one particular thing, when you hear that for 1 hour or 2 hours, as the case may be, the amount of, see, just like, see, we really don't know the scriptures and all, but when you hear from him, I think you must have experienced it, Varshaji. I think you can tell it better. In his presence, when he speaks about it, what an amount of change happens within ourselves. When we are hearing it from this YouTube itself, it brings about so much of difference, or so much of, I mean, calmness. And I don't know how to express that. But yes, all the, I think this banishing, or all our misdeeds. I think in one of the shlokas, even if you have done a misdeed, or if you have done an action which is incorrect from this one, with his name itself, that completely gets dispelled. Those actions, or the results of those actions, gets dispelled. So this is what I had to say, ma'am. I'm at loss of words, because I think each of these points are so beautifully conveyed over here.
Mm. Yes, Venkatesh ji, you have conveyed it very beautifully. Your bhav was so much felt. Yes, sitting in satsang in front of Swamiji in Ayodhya doing Ramcharitmanas was once in a lifetime opportunity, because um, he jokes about our shortcomings and he says, not y'all, somebody. And then you see the mirror that, are you were doing this, and then the big problem or the mistake or a error or a flaw in us, we can laugh in his presence, though we see the mirror, and then you can correct it then and there. So there is lot of clearance happening when we sit in front of the realized masters. You were true about that. True. I what I loved is that see, when we started at 460, that first word itself at 460, only the feet of Lord Mukunda are the right place of resort. I just underlined when you read that. And because of that, what happens is I, me, my body. Am I audible? I think I've lost myself. I think I lost myself. At what point? How much did you hear?
Yes, you are. No, no,
Okay,
we
you are
heard
there. Yeah,
everything.
you can
At
hear
least
me.
I heard everything.
Okay, yeah. So that only
Yeah,
the
we've been
feet of
hearing.
Lord
Absolutely.
Mukunda, yeah, so only the feet of Lord Mukunda, the right place of resort, it's at 460. So what I feel that tells the whole thing. So normally we are not lost ourselves. Like I am doing the action. So this is mine. This is my house. Okay. This is me, and this is mine. This identity never goes. So when you are surrendering, that altar has to be that high where this identity is going to go. I, me, mine. Huh? I am doing this. It's me who has said this, or this is mine and I have acquired this. This there is lot. Huh? My son, my this, my. But when you have that altar, then, when that surrender happens, and without the Lord, you are not seeing anybody else, or there is no other existence. That means when you have lost your I, where the karma will go? The phala. I am doing the action when I have, the phala is coming to me, whether good or bad. But when I have lost myself, where the phala is going to go? So that's why those lines have come, that he is free from all the obligations. Then he doesn't have to do light a lamp, do the tarpan. Sannyasis don't do, right? They don't have the Nitya Puja, Rishi Run, Deva Run, Pitru Run, nothing. They have nothing. Sannyasis don't have anything. So when that happens, so we are not wearing orange robes. Maybe physical sannyas is not happening, but at that mental level, when the surrender happens, and we have lost our I, me, and mineness, then there is no obligation. So those initial verses were that. And that's why you can see then Lord everywhere. Then the dual bhav is not there. So uh, when we read stories of great saints, Mirabai, Radha, Gopis, they don't have their sense separate identity. And they could experience, and those were the verses that came. That's why in 471 this says the bondage of karma does not touch those devotees who drop the pride of their body, leave aside the worship of other devotees or surrender. Nothing is happening now for them. So this was my takeaway. Anybody has any other points to share?
Version.
Yeah.
By the time I found the verses, it was that part where he says how lucky Vasudeva is because, and that I really enjoyed because there are a lot of songs that has been composed about that joy, but usually it is with Yashoda and Nand Baba, no? So here they have mentioned, of course, I mean, Devaki and Vasudeva. So that part was really nice because I was imagining how it would have been for them that
Yes.
they were so lucky to have the Lord to be born as so.
Yes, very true, Lataji. So, okay.
And I think that it was the third time he was born. I mean, I recently heard this whole thing. He was first, Bhagwan came down to, what was that rishi? I'm getting a bit confused. The names eludes me because I heard recently in a discourse by Dushyant ji. And he gives how the image of this Lord Guruvayurappan came into being and, how it, Krishna himself had worshipped it. And it was Prishni and Sutapas, yes.
That Uddhava, and then third is as Vasudeva Devaki's, yeah.
Yeah, Vasudeva. What was the second one?
Uddhava, I think. Something like.
No. The first one was Prishni and
Correct,
Sutapas.
yeah.
But then he was Vamana Avatar. Then second one, I'm forgetting. The third is this. And it was really nice how all three of them were such blessed parents to have had the Lord as their son, really fortunate.
True, true. Okay, so shall we end this session? Venkateshji, you want to do the closing prayers or should I do?
You can do
I can do.
Varshaji, please. Yeah.
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु Hari Om. See you all tomorrow. Thank you so much. Hari Om.
Thank you, Hari Om.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hari Om.